In this video, we're going to do the rocker arm. But one thing I want you to pay special attention to is the rocker arm is metric. Now, our sheet layout that we do in class is in inches. So I want you to open up the sheet layout, but we're not going to draw within the sheet layout as we do with a lot of our other drawings. I want you to go to File, New, and if you get this splash screen come up where it says Select a Template, that is not good. So we don't want that. What we want to do is go in your command line. You should have done this already, but if not, go to Startup, type Startup, all one word, and enter. This value here should not be 3, and it is 3 by default. So unless you change it, you type 1 and hit enter. And then we'll try this File New again. This is the screen that you want to come up where it says Start from Scratch. This allows you to go to a metric drawing. So we're going to go to metric, click OK. So it'll bring up a whole new drawing, and we're in metric. How do we know we're in metric? Well, a lot of times I'll go on to Format, go to Units, and you'll see that it says millimeters here under insertion scale. This is an indication that we're in metric now. Okay, so all of the dimensions and everything are in metric on this rocker arm drawing. So we're going to start in the middle, and actually I'm going to use the origin for this. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the large circle that shows a radius of 50. So I'm going to go to Center Radius, and instead of clicking anywhere on my screen, I'm going to use the origin, which is 0, 0, and hit enter. The radius is 50. So that's how I'm going to get started. So I'm going to start with the origin, drawing the part around the origin. All right, next thing that we're going to do is locate some of these other center points, because that's what you got to do. When you have radiuses, you got to locate those center points. So I'll do the upper one. If we do an X and Y coordinate here, you got 70 in X, and then 40 in Y is the center of this upper arc. So it has a radius of 25. What we're going to do is we're going to go and do a circle center radius, and I'm going to actually type in the absolute input value here. So I'm going to just type 70, 40, and hit enter. And that'll give us our proper location. The radius is 25 millimeters. So that's the top one located. Now we're going to locate the bottom one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do absolute input, but I need to go to the tool, go to circle center radius. The radius on the bottom is also 25. But let's take a look at the X and Y coordinate. So in X, going backwards, it's 50 millimeters. And then in Y, going down, is 60 millimeters. But this might be a little bit tricky for you. We got to actually remember to type in the negative because it's going backwards. So we're going to go negative 50, negative 60 because it's going down. So that's the location there. As you can see, 25 millimeters is already stored in my radius area. So I can hit enter, and it'll repeat that last radius that I used. All right, so we're getting constructed here. Now what we're going to do is finish the outlines, these outline arcs. So we got arcs that go this way, arcs that go this way, and then we got arcs that come in. So we're going to use a tool called Tangent Radius under the Circle Draw tools. This is actually pretty handy because we know that these arcs down here are in fact tangent here and tangent here, and we know that we're given the radius. So let's go ahead and do that. So go to TTR, and I said TTR because that's a little shortcut here for tangent radius. So we'll start up here actually. So we're going to click tangent here, and specify the radius is 50 millimeters. Okay, so notice how it puts this circle in here, and it snaps it perfectly, tangent and tangent, and then we specify the radius. So we're going to need to do the same down here. Whenever we go to circle, TTR, we're going to go tangent here, tangent here. That's actually a different radius. It's 40 millimeters. So we'll put that in. Now before I go on, I can go ahead and trim now, or I can wait a little bit, but let's go ahead and just trim now. And we'll select these arcs, and notice how I can trim it back, and there we go. All right, so I need to put lines up here, and we're going to do tangent. But I want to show you something. There's a toolbar over here, and this is the Object Snap toolbar. This toolbar is actually pretty important. I'm going to close it just because it's probably closed on your screen. I'll show you how to get access to it. So on the menus here, go to Tools. Drop down, go to Toolbars, go to AutoCAD, and then find Object Snap and check mark it. Click on it, and that'll bring up this toolbar. So what this toolbar does, when I go to line, and let's say I'm going to draw a line, I want it to be tangent. So I'm going to snap here, and this is quadrant, by the way. I'm going to roll with this though, quadrant to quadrant. So I'm going to look at this and take a look. This is no good. This is not tangent. This line is running right through that circle. Take a look at here. This line comes down. There's a bump right here. That's no good as well. We want it to be tangent. Well, if I look down at my object snap settings, you may look, well, I don't have tangent snapped, or check marked rather. So let me check mark tangent there. Let's try this line again. So when I go and draw this line, look, that tangent's not even showing up. My quadrant snap is still showing up. So this is where this toolbar comes into play. If I click on here, this button right here is where it says snap to tangent. If I click on this tool, when I'm in the line command, notice what happens. That snap now has priority. So now we can go ahead and click our snap here and take a look at my cursor here in this line. It's kind of following me. The tangent point is following around that circle. So what we want to do is go ahead and snap our second tangent. We'll notice that this quadrant snap's popping up, and that's no good. So what we want to do is you got to click that snap to tangent again for the second time, and it'll put that tangent. Okay, so notice that that line now is tangent to this circle, and it's also tangent to this circle. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so let's do this line down here. And I wanted to show you something else. So if I go to line, snap to tangent, click on that. If I pause on that, let me escape out of that. Let me try that again. So if I go snap to tangent, before I click on it, I'm going to pause. You see where it says Deferred Tangent? So I'm going to click. The reason why it's deferred is because it's waiting for your second point before it'll adjust exactly where that tangent point is going to be. So I got to click snap to tangent again for my second tangent point. Come down here and click, and notice how it adjusted it tangent to be right in this area here. So now we do have the outline of the rocker arm constructed. This tool panel here, this toolbar, I'm going to dock it off to the left side. That didn't work out very well. Let me try docking it. It may not dock with my recorded screen. So that's what I would suggest you do. Try docking that over there. And like I said, I'm going to just close it out because it's not docking it. All right, so let's go ahead and trim the rest of this up. So I'm going to select all and click this here, click this, click this, click this. All right, so now that's our outline of the rocker arm. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to use the Polygon tool to put this hexagon in the center. So that polygon can be found under the Draw tool panel. Drop down under Rectangle and go to Polygon. So Polygon allows us to enter multiple number of sides. So a hexagon is 6 sides, so I'm going to enter 6 from number of sides. It says specify center of the polygon. We're going to actually type 0, 0 because we've used our absolute origin, so I can type that, hit enter. Now we have another option here. We have a choice between two. We have inscribed and circumscribed about circle. So let's look at the difference. So if I pause on Polygon up here, my cursor, it'll drop down and it'll show me the difference between the two. It says the difference between inscribed and circumscribed options shown below. If you look at the one, that would be your center point. That's where you would click your center. The number 2, that would be the second point you click, but look where on the left it's referenced to the point. So it would be you'd give a radius dimension from 1 to 2 to the point. Now on the right would be circumscribed. That would be from the center to the flat. That would be the radius dimension. in our case here, our dimension shows 60 millimeters from flat to flat. So what we need to do is type in the radius of that, which would be 30. And I'm going to type choose circumscribed. And notice my cursor is now on that flat. Turn on your ortho and type in your radius of 30 millimeters. And notice with ortho turned on, it allows me to lock that in perfectly straight up and down here to where it's this flat side's horizontal. Okay? All right, the next thing I'm going to do is use the Polygon tool again for this square up here, this rectangle. So drop down, go to Polygon. Instead of number of sides being 6, I got to change it to 4. And one of the reasons why I want to use this tool is because it allows me to choose the center. And we're going to do circumscribe once again because the reference is from the center to the flat. And our dimension is 20 by 20, so the radius of that would be 10. Okay. Now, one other thing, let's do a circle down here, and it has a diameter of 20, so let's do that with the traditional center diameter input. Snap the center point, choose 20 for diameter, and we're good to go. So now this is the rocker arm. And what I'm going to do, I don't know if it allows us to do this in this video, but we're going to try it. So the next step would be to copy and paste this drawing into the sheet layout. But I want to re-emphasize that this is a metric drawing. Our sheet layout is in inches. So we are going to need to scale it. And that's where you need to pay attention to this. So I'm going to go ahead and select this whole rocker arm. I'm going to do Control-C on my keyboard, which will copy it. Go to my sheet layout drawing. And I'm going to do Control-V and click. Now, you may not see it. So I'm going to zoom out. And now you see it's very big. So it's big because this is in metric and this is in inches. So make sure that you bring the rocker arm into the sheet layout. I have a lot of students taking the sheet layout into the rocker arm. That is not the process that I'm laying out. You need to make sure you take the rocker arm into the sheet layout. Okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to scale it. So go to the Modify Tool panel and click on Scale. So when I go to Scale, I need to select my rocker arm object and hit Enter. Now, base point can be anywhere. You can click the center here. So with the scale factor, what we got to know is 1 inch equals 25.4 millimeters. So if we were going to scale it down, we need to know what 1 millimeter equals in inches. So you take 1 divided by 25.4 millimeters, and it will give you 0.03937 inches. So that's the scale factor that we're going to use, 0.03937. That's what I'll type in and hit Enter. Notice now it's real small. It scaled it down. What we want to do, though, is we want to move this rocker arm, move it down close to the sheet layout, but not inside yet. Because what we're going to do is we need to perfectly center it and lay it out in the sheet layout. But this is an irregular shape. So I'm going to introduce a new tool to help us out with irregular shapes. And that tool is the construction line. You can find that under the draw tools in here. But what I like to do is just simply type X line on the command line, X line, which is a construction line. So we have options down here. We're going to utilize the horizontal and vertical option. I'll choose horizontal first. I'm going to snap to the very lowest point and then snap to the very highest point. Hit Escape, spacebar, choose vertical option, go to the far left, and then go to the far right. Make sure you're snapping on the quadrant of that arc. All right, notice what happened. This construction line draws lines out to infinity. They don't have any endpoints. But what we're after right here is we are after this intersection that drew a box around here. So let's go to Line, and we're going to snap to that intersection, snap to that intersection. Now I want to show you something with this line. I'm going to select this line, and you're going to see this blue grip, which is the midpoint. That is not the midpoint of this circle right here, this radius rather, or this hexagon. So these two midpoints are off a little bit. This is the true midpoint of the overall object, and that's the one we want to use. So you can't just simply choose that center point and snap it in the sheet layout. So now, before I move it, I'm going to go ahead and just delete these construction lines, get them out of the way, but do not delete that diagonal line because you need that. I'm going to go to line and make a diagonal line, snap it here in the sheet layout, go to move, snap to this midpoint right here. This is critical. Go ahead and snap it to that midpoint. Delete. And there we go. We have the object in the sheet layout centered. So you check this dimension here. You can check this dimension, make sure it's good. Left and right this way. Looks like it's all centered. So the next thing we could do is we could fill out our title block right now. So double click on the title. Go rocker arm. Make sure you got all caps. Center it up. Go ahead and move it. Make sure your ortho's turned on. Center it up. This figure is going to be figure 3 because it's our third in-chapter drawing. Now this scale, we're going to change this up a bit. We're going to choose 1 mm equals 0.03937. Actually, it's not going to fit, so we could just choose 0.39 inches. Okay? All right, so I'm going to move that. Now it's important that you understand that, I always tell you, make sure that you the metric notation millimeters is accepted as lowercase mm. So that's probably about the only thing that's not going to be capitalized here. Okay, so adjust your date on your drawing and your period. And the next thing we need to do to finish this up is put dimensions in place. So normally I have you dimension the radiuses first, but I just wanted to show you something here. So I'm going to go to linear, and we're going to snap to the center here and the center here and go up. Now take note, this is incorrect in the sense that it's reading inches, but we don't want it to. We want it to read our metric number of 70 millimeters. So what we're going to need to do, if you remember when we did the channel plate, we had to scale everything up and then the dimensions back down. So in here we scaled the object down. We need to scale the measurement dimensions up. So let's go to dimension, go to dimension style, go to modify. Now the measurement scale here, the scale factor, needs to be not 0.03937, but 25.4 would be the inverse of that. So if you do that, we're going to click OK. Close that out. Let me zoom in here. Notice that it's still a little tiny bit off. Well, the reason why is because our 0.03937 is also a rounded number. So it's going to throw us off a little bit. So here's what we could do, and I only recommend doing this in metric. We're going to go back to dimension, go to dimension style, go to modify, and we're going to change the precision to just 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place, which is what we have here, this is sufficient in metric. I don't recommend that in inches though, because I like to see 4 decimal places. Click OK. And notice what we have. We have 70 millimeters shown. All right. So the next thing I will do is put center marks in with our radius and diameter dimensions. So let's go ahead and do some radius dimensions here. And like I said, we're going to copy exactly what the drawing shows. So put our radiuses in here. Radius dimensions, and see how that snapped over there? I don't want that over there, so I'm going to click on it, drag it back over. where I want it. Okay. Keep going here with the radius is. And remember, when I put the radius dimension, it puts my center mark in. And down here, I do want a diameter dimension for here. And move up. And I will have a radius dimension in here. I'm sorry, that's a diameter dimension. We don't want that. We want radius dimension. So we will put that in. All right, now a couple linear dimensions, but before I do that, this linear dimension here, take note, we don't have a gap here. So I want to move this up 0.0625 and that'll get my gap the way we want it. Move this line up 0.0625. Okay, all right, let's put some more linear dimensions in now. Let's go to linear, we're going to snap linear dimension here, snap linear dimension here. Let's do the 40 millimeters down here to here, drag that out, 40, and I got my gaps here. We're going to do our 60 millimeter dimension down here. Drag that out. And we got to do 50 down here. Bring that down. Okay. Let's take a look. Check, make sure we have them all. Looks to me like the last dimension, I need this 60 millimeters. This is an aligned dimension. So drop down under your dimension tools, choose aligned, snap to that point, and drag up. And there's our 60 millimeters. Notice I have a gap here, still have my gaps. I don't have a gap here, but this extension line needs to go all the way to that center mark. Okay? All right. Notice this extension line right here crosses this extension line. Now, generally, I don't like that, but extension lines are allowed to cross. We want to make sure that nothing crosses over these dimension lines. So take a look at the rocker arm, and looks like everything is complete now. And that's it for the rocker arm. Thanks for watching.